Hello and welcome to the Addicts podcast. I'm your host, Jamar. Today's episode 191, and we're going to be interviewing Timothy. How you doing, Timothy?
Doing good. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to do this as usual. So let's get started here. First question I ask everybody is, tell me about your childhood and growing up.
Okay. I grew up in a middle class family in North Alabama, out in the country, and actually, no one in my family like drank or my dad smoked cigarettes, but there was no addiction or anything, and I would say we were not maybe upper middle class, but middle class. Uh, I had a great family. I analyze myself all the time. I try to and figure out maybe where I went wrong, or you know what I mean. And I
Yeah,
was thinking something that might have when I was, you know what I mean. I'm sure I've been trying to figure it out, but I can't blame it on anybody but me. And that's why I know this is a disease I have that it was I know I've made bad choices, but it's got to be a disease because my parents they were great, and my whole family was. So you know, but I came from a good family.
that's good. How did you do in school?
I did real good. I was a real good basketball player, and actually got a scholarship when I was in the ninth grade to a private school because of the way basketball. So, and I made good grades, had a good social life, and I don't really. I had a great school and a great childhood, put it like that.
That's obviously usually not the case a lot of times. That's good for you. It's good that you had a good childhood because a lot of people I speak to, that's one of the reasons they led into addiction was they had a terrible upbringing.
Mm-hmm. But my parents never fought. They, it was they lived the American dream. Uh, the house, the two cars, three kids, and
That's great. So, at what age were you first introduced to any type of drug or alcohol?
I scored my first touchdown when I was in the seventh grade,
What is
and
it called? Snorting your first touchdown?
what I actually I scored my first touchdown playing football, and after the game, some guys in the ninth grade we smoked weed,
Oh,
and
gotcha. At the celebration?
yes, and it was downhill ever since.
Oh boy.
But yeah, and I think about that every day, and like that was over 45 years ago, and I can't remember a whole lot, but I knew the first time I smoked it that I liked it, and then then the rest was history.
Yeah. So
I started skipping school, and then like I skipped 100 something days in a row one time, and all I did was smoke weed every day, all day.
wow, it was that bad, huh?
It was real bad. But once I kicked this addiction in, like first time I used, uh, I, I mean, it's been chaos. It was chaos the whole time. Like, uh, I had when I first quit. Like, my mom asked me, she was like, "So, how do you feel?" I said, "I don't know how I feel. I've I've never been clean, so I didn't know what clean felt like. You know what I mean? A normal mindset and all that. But it was. I'm probably the worst of the worst. When I kicked this addiction in, I mean, it got really bad.
Why do you think the marijuana got so bad?
Uh, it, I really don't know. I just knew I liked it. And I've been the type person my whole life that if I like something, I'm putting everything I got into it, like sports and like, I mean, I was going to be the best it ever was, that whatever, I was that type of person. And I really don't know why. But then in the early 80s, cocaine got to be the thing. And, there went to marijuana out the window. Then here comes cocaine and,
How did
and
marijuana make you feel?
oh, it made me forget my problems for a little bit. And then, and I like the way it made, I like getting high. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. I really love to get high. And, that's just the God's honest truth about it.
So you said you found yourself doing cocaine. What age was that?
I started snorting on the week, doing it, using it on the weekend. Tried to just use it on the weekend and work, and that didn't work either. So it got completely out of control. And then that's when the in and out of jail and in and out of prison started.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. What age were you when you first started?
The cocaine, I was let's see, I was probably 22 or 3.
Okay, so is it you were smoking weed for quite some time before you progressed to
Oh
cocaine?
yeah. And when back, I'm pretty old, so but marijuana was like, it's not like today, just freely open, I mean, it was pretty tough to get in the late 70s, middle 70s. Vietnam, actually, I think when everybody came back from Vietnam, that's when, it all started.
Did you serve in the military?
No,
Okay.
but I've been in and out of jail all my life. Actually, the first time I went to jail, I got busted with some pot. And, I think I got busted with 3 or 4 joints, and I thought I was going to have to do 3 years. Alabama, we don't, they send you to prison in Alabama
Yeah,
for drugs.
they don't mess around.
We don't have any kind of recovery.
So what age you said you were? How old when you first went to jail? 22.
22.
Were you scared?
And it they give you a number when you go in there, and you keep that number from then on. I had a 4-digit number. Everybody else had 6 digits. And I'm in there with, and they look at my badge with my 4-digit number, and they're like, good Lord, what year did you come to jail the first time? And I think 78 was the first year I went to jail. So,
and how old were you?
19.
Okay.
18 or 19.
That must have been scary going to jail at such a young age.
It really was. And what really is scary is after I had been so many times and been in and out of prison, that it didn't bother me. That's what really scared me worse than anything. When going to jail and prison doesn't bother you, there's something your thinking is not right.
Yes.
And I know you probably gonna think I'm crazy, but I really thank God that I went. It took everything that I've been through to get where I'm at today, and I thank God for it. And I wouldn't change anything. Like, I wouldn't go back and change anything, because I wouldn't be clean today if it wasn't for like going to jail and said, you know what I mean? I learned a little something every time. I got to, I really didn't know it at the time, but when I got clean and I look back, like, I can see where I learned this time and this the next time. And I'm really thankful that, for jail. I wouldn't be alive. I shouldn't be here talking to you today. That's how, I've been getting high for, over 45 years. I've been using drugs. So, I'm just thankful today that I'm clean and sober.
Yeah,
And I did drink, and, my drinking wasn't as bad as the drug use. I mean, but I would get to use and then I'd start drinking. So,
yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that they learned stuff in jail. Because some people said jail was the only reason they got sober. Like they said, a judge sent them to jail, and that was the first time they were sober in years upon years, and it helped them.
yes, it really did. And, one of my most proudest accomplishments, I mean, I'm like the proudest I've ever been of myself is, I heard all my life from my mom and dad, you could have been, because I was pretty smart and I made good grades. And they would always say, look, you wasted your life, And the next to the last time I went to the county jail, I had a $2.5 million bond. So, I'm not going nowhere doing nothing. I'm in a cell 24 hours a day, and I didn't kill anybody. And it was a drug crime. And I took a course the first time ever, and I took a GED course, and I got my GED while I was in jail. And the best part of it is they dressed me in civilian clothes. Now, still shackled and handcuffed. I went and I made a 748 out of a possible 800 on the test score for my GED, and that was at age 50, and that was probably one of I did it. I did it for my parents. You know what I mean? I actually did it for myself, and it made me feel good. But it sure made my mama feel good that I got that GED.
That's good.
When I look back over my life, recovery, I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I'm in love with my recovery. Like, I didn't know how to love, like unconditional love. And I've learned that. And I got my GED. And I think I was pretty good in shackles and handcuffs. And I made the highest score in there that day. The lady that does the GED thing, when she brought my certificate and stuff down to the jail. And on Thanksgiving that year, I was on the front page of the Huntsville Times, receiving my diploma and everything. And that's not a good place to get one, but if you're going, at least I accomplished something. I tried to. Every time I went to jail or prison, I took every substance abuse program possible, because I mean, I really hate this disease that I have. But I know I know that I'm going to have it till the day they put me in the ground, and I'm going to keep doing it, whatever it takes every day to make a successful day. And I've been thinking about this. A successful day for me is not to use, and then all the other stuff's just extra. But I love recovery.
I know the feeling. I mean, I say to myself, look where I am. I would have never been doing this if I was still, in my
Exactly.
active addiction. I would have been sitting here drinking already.
uh,
That's all
but
I used to do is I used to wake up, grab a drink, have a cigarette, and start my day. And then maybe around 10 a.m., I would go, instead of drinking wine, I would go and get liquor, and I'd start
yeah.
drinking liquor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My job every day was to get some more high. I tried not to ever come down if it was possible. Then that's one of them things where I can't lie to myself. And like I said, I've always, wanted to be the best at what I was doing. And you know, that's why whenever I figured out this, I love this life we have now. You know what I mean? I love waking up clean and sober every day. And I love, you know, we don't got nothing nobody else can't have. And, you know, if you put in as much work, I try to put in as much work as I used to getting high, not to get high now. So, you know, that's one of my goals every day.
So at what point in your life did you say, okay, I have a problem and I need to get help?
I think I was in prison, and I was taking a substance abuse, like trying to make parole. So I'm gonna go over here and take this substance abuse program. I'm trying to manipulate the system, and I'm in there. And actually, I'm reading a big book and like trying to be the best I can be at, you know, at in prison in the SAP class, substance abuse program. And I was like, I really have got a problem. Like, I mean, you know, I think I realized then I was insane. I keep doing the same thing, expecting, you know, a different outcome. So I realized then I had to change everything that I was doing. I had to change my thinking. And you know, here's one thing I thank God too. Just because I was clean, you know, like when going to prison, when I didn't use in prison, and by the way, drugs are cheaper, you know, but it was easy for me to stay clean, and I'm like, hey, I may be in here the rest of my life. Just, you know, I know the judge threatened me with that if I didn't quit coming before, but you know, I was willing to accept living in prison the rest of my life because I was living in prison out here on the streets in this addiction. And I realized then that I had a real bad problem. And, you know, I got out and I did about 5 years, 6 years. I got out and I stayed out 45 days. And I'm a book guy. And the book told me that I was going to get out. Okay, I don't have to use anymore, but I can sell it. And I can still hang out with them. No, you can't. 45 days later, after 6 years in prison, I'm headed back to prison. And that's when I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got tired of sleeping on that little thin mat, you know, in prison. So that's when I really got serious. And my parents and my kids, they kind of they were enablers. So when I went back them after I stayed out them 45 days, I applied for a halfway house. And in Montgomery, Alabama, I call it halfway home because it was my home. And when I got out that time, I got out with 5 months left on a 21-year sentence on a drug charge. And I had 5 months left and they let me out again. I'm like, there's no way I'm, you know, so I go and I don't tell anybody. Like, I'm from North Alabama, but I'm in South Alabama, Montgomery. And I don't tell anybody that I'm out. I go to this halfway house. I don't have $1. I'm wearing prison boots. And you know, I always thought, you know, I'm better than this. Well, I rode a bus every day and I cleaned the floor at a chicken house for $9 an hour. And, you know, I thank God for that because that's where I learned to be humble. And you wouldn't believe that I did that for 9 months and making, you know, $9 an hour. But I worked all the overtime I could. And I really felt good about myself. I bought me a car. I saved up 6 or 7 thousand. I did it all myself, and that was made me feel a lot better about myself. And when I got out that time, I got out on a Monday night. I went to a meeting Monday night. I started the 90 and 90. I did 120 and 90. I was like, I ain't going back this time. I'm going to go above and beyond whatever the book says. So, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that halfway house and riding that bus in Montgomery, Alabama. And I know in my heart that, every little thing that I've done, like, being the humble part, that really saved my life.
So, so tell me this: how do you stay sober nowadays?
How do I stay sober now?
Yep.
I live actually, I had a friend of mine. She was like, "Hey, you want me to come get you?" I was at the halfway house. I was like, "No, I'm staying here. I love, I live the program. I mean, I live a simple life. I try to keep my life as simple as possible. When I was in Montgomery, I was telling my story 2 or 3 nights a week. I was out promoting halfway house. I was big time in my NA group. I was a representative, and every weekend I was out doing something. And somebody told me at a meeting one night that if you put an elephant on Dee Dee's plate, she can't eat it but one bite at a time. And I kind of learned, how you overextend yourself. Well, I overextended myself there. And it started putting the pressure. So I've learned every day that I have to keep it simple as possible. No, I hate drama. I get up the same time every day. I'm on the same. I drink a glass of orange juice every day. I used to drink coffee every day and smoke cigarettes, but I'm trying to be healthy because I really don't know why I'm still here. But I know that if somebody my age can quit and work this, if you work this program, you put your heart and soul into it, you can do it.
So what's a day like? What do you do? Each day, do you have any type of prayer or anything special that you do?
Yeah, I get up first thing, I read just for today. And I do have a prayer that I say. And I learned something in a prison program that I do every day before I get out of bed. And you can't use the same thing every day. What are you grateful for? What am I going to be grateful for today? Because a grateful addict will never use again. So I do that. I have I do the grateful thing. Just for today, and I meditate, and I read several pages of the book in the morning, and I work Sunday through Wednesday. And somebody told me last night at work, I told them I had bought Powerball tickets, and I said I'm going to start me a rehab, free rehab for people that can't afford, that wants to get in the program. And they was like, "You got one here. This is your rehab," on my job. And he said, there's 9 people in here that were using when you came to work here that are, just trying to live by example is what I try to do. And I'm not ashamed of my addiction. Like, I tell people right up front that, hey, I'm an addict, that, and I've been to prison, and if but I do live a program life. I go to meetings of certain nights. I go to meetings, and Nashville. I was living in Nashville at an Oxford house, And I lived there for 4 years, but we had 200 meetings a day in Nashville, so I could find me several meetings for work every day.
So the meetings really help you.
Yeah, everything. I think a little bit of everything. I use NAAA and Celebrated Recovery. I just like, I really was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And I always say that what you're doing, that you don't have to stick by just one fellowship. You could use multiple fellowships, learn a little bit from each one, and make your own program.
Yeah, and when I first come to NA, I was really mad at God, and I'm spiritual, not religious, spiritual. I have a relationship with a God of my understanding, and I don't push religion and all that on people, but I was mad at God about this free will. I wanted God to make me put that pipe down and stop. And I sat there like for them 90 meetings, and I'm in there and like, finally I was like, okay, this ain't gonna work. You're not changing. I gotta change. So, and then I start them steps of they were so good to me. At working the steps the first time, it was such a there was such a load off me when I got through them steps that first time. And I had my first sponsor. He was good. Like, I couldn't ask for a better sponsor. He worked in a rehab, and like he had heard all the crap, and he knew every scam. And so if he seen me trying to scam or get over on the program, he called me out. And I know I wouldn't be clean today without that.
Yeah, having the assistance of someone who's done it, been there, that obviously is pretty powerful.
Oh yeah. Then I talk to my sponsors every day. I've got 2 or 3 people sponsors. I stay in contact with them, and I try to, I really am in love with this recovery program. And I used to have it in my head, and I told my wife the other night that I really love it in my heart now. I mean, when I see somebody, just one day clean, I know that you got to start somewhere, and it makes me feel better. And I know that step 12 works because as many, you can't keep it if we don't give it away. And I try to give it away like I'm just trying to get rid of it.
All right, so we're getting towards the end here. Let me ask you one last question. Do you have any advice for people watching and listening?
I sure do. If you want this, you can get it's your work in steps, stay in that book, stay concentrated on recovery. Recovery is number one in my life, because without recovery, I don't have a life. And just remember, God has no limits. Man has the limits, but God has no limit. When he can take an old addict like me that should have been dead many years ago, that I come from a place, you might have saw it on A&E, it's called Meth Mountain in North Alabama.
I haven't heard of it. No, it's on A. You said A&E?
You might check it out. It's real good.
Okay.
When this meth epidemic hit, I was right in the middle of it. Right in the very middle of that. And everybody that I'm the last living friend of mine. I have no friends my age. They're all gone. And I want to say this too. This fentanyl crisis, I'm scared for this next generation. It used to, they sent me to jail and stuff. Now we're sending ODs are like, it's crazy. Yeah. And I had a guy that I was at Oxford House with. His name is Bradley, and he come from an upper middle class family, and like I seen me, and he was addicted to the fentanyl, and like you know the rest of the story. I mean, and we lost him last year, and I cry every day thinking about that kid because it was me, and God showed it was me. If I had made kept making them bad decisions, and it was me, and we got to do something about it. I mean, that's just, I mean, we just got to do something about it and live a life so other addicts can. I mean, they can have what we got. And I really appreciate you out there, like getting the message out, because we're losing a whole nother generation, and I want them to have a chance at the American dream like I have. So with that, and I love everybody now. Unconditionally. I really do. And people, when my sponsor used to make me hug people at the door at the NA meeting, and I didn't know why he had me doing that, but now I know every single thing that book says. The book is right. So if you use that book, you won't have no problem.
Gotcha. Well, I thank you for that. And I also want to thank you for doing the podcast today. How do you feel?
I feel good. I feel if we can get this message out there, and just one person can see it, and I'm satisfied with that. Like just trying to get the message out. And I do like to fish too, by the way. I try to get 1 or 2 days a week fishing in, and I try to carry a kid out, and maybe we can change. Reach one, teach one.
That's a great saying. I've never heard that one before.
I learned that in prison, by the way. A substance. If he could reach one, maybe that one can reach another one, and then so on. And by the way, he was a military guy, and I was the valedictorian of my substance abuse program, and I had to give the speech in front of the warden in the newspaper and everything in Montgomery, Alabama. And I'm really proud of it, but that was one of the times I kind of scammed my way through it, but I learned so much. You know what I mean? It wasn't the one that I wasn't sick and tired of being sick and tired yet, but that was it was a great substance abuse program thing, and it dealt with the mental health aspect of this disease we got. Because we got this crazy person in here, I do, that tells me all this crazy stuff, and I've had to learn to tune him out. I know to call my sponsor when I even think about listening to this voice inside my head.
That's the right thing to do.
Yeah. And I'm trying to learn as much about this disease as possible. Actually, I start school on January the 11th. I'm going to take some classes online that, when a 62-year-old man wants to go back to school, I got a lot of people laughing and making fun of me, telling me, well, you're older than the professor. How I'm going back to learn as much as I possibly can about this disease we have. I mean, it's, I'm trying to figure it out every day, the mental health part of it. So, but like I said, I love this recovery, and I trust the process. Like I believe in it with all my heart. If you do do what you're supposed to, what the book says, you know, you're going to come out on the other side to the good.
All right, my friend. I really appreciate you doing this today. Like I said before, it really means a lot, and I really appreciate it. Like I said. So, did you
I,
have anything? You have anything else you want to say before we go?
what now?
You have anything else you want to say before we go?
Anytime you need somebody to get on here and preach for you, you can call me.
Sounds good. I will.
I've got a message, and then I'm not gonna, you know, I'm gonna, before I get cured, when they put me that 8 foot deep or 6 foot deep, I'm gonna tell as many people as possible about how wonderful this recovery process is.
Good. We
And I
need people
appreciate.
like you. All right, my friend, sit tight. I really appreciate you doing this again today. And for everybody watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. Also, subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can check us out on all social media platforms like Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also check out our website, which is www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you will find plenty of free resources and free literature. So that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time.